Hey everyone, this is me creating some finger controls and joints as well as a fist control. So here we go. I'm just going to create a couple joints right now and then add some polyplanes in. I'm just going to position these polyplanes so that the start of them is at the start of the one joint and the end of the other joint. And then I'm going to duplicate it and rotate it 90 degrees. I'm going to duplicate both of those planes, just bump forward a little bit. I'm going to then parent them to the corresponding joints. So that's just selecting the fans and then the joint and then hitting P. I'm going to move them. I'm just going to be doing the pointer finger for this first go. So I'll move it to position. You can see right here, the reason why I have the fans is that it'll just help me with rotating these joints around. I can run them along all the different edge loops that I want. You can see that I select that guy right there, and I want to orient the fan along that guy. So I'm just rotating it into place. I'll check my side view, then my front view, check the back view as well. And then everything looks good there. So I'm going to grab the joint below it and align it to that selected edge loop. So bump it back a little bit on the x-axis. I'm going to rotate it around. You can see I'm checking the different viewports just to make sure that those fans sort of line up to the edge flow of my fingers. So again, checking the front and the side view. Everything looks good. So I'm going to duplicate this joint after I move it back just to that last edge loop there. Just do a quick rotate and a little bit of reposition on the x-axis. So I duplicate it. I'm going to reparent it so that all the joints are just sort of equal to each other. Joints 1 through 4. And then just a little bit of tweaking of that last joint. Once everything looks good, I'm going to select my fans that I had created earlier and just delete them. All I had those there for was strictly for positioning and nothing else. So it just froze the transform on that top joint. You can see that the joint orients are now populated with values, and my rotate values are at 0. I'm going to create some controls for my joints now. I just duplicated 3 NURB circles. I selected my top joint and then parented my control to it and then zeroed out all my translate and rotate values. You can see I'm doing that for the second. I'm going to be doing that for the third one as well. So just parenting the control under the joint and then zeroing them out. I just parented them to the world now, and now I'm moving them out a little bit. And actually I just undid that. I'm going to create some groups first. So these are going to be my 0 groups for my controls. I'll do the same thing. I'll parent them to my controls this time and then zero them out. So the second group to the second control, I'll zero out the transforms and then parent it to the world. Same thing for the third one. So now my groups are in the same world position as my controls are. I'm just going to isolate everything here. Now I'm going to move back my control or my groups to the center points of my joints, and I think I parent my controls up to those joints so everything's got their proper orientations and hierarchies. I'm grabbing the controls and just hitting D and V on my keyboard and snapping it to the joints. I think I undo that quickly here so that I can scale them and move them out slightly, or rotate them, I mean. Just center the pivots. So I'll scale them down, rotate them 90 degrees, bump them out a little bit, and then again, select one, hit D, or hold down D and V to snap their center points to the joints. Now I'm just going to freeze transforms there, and you can see that my controls are now zeroed out, but they still have proper orientations from the zero groups above them, which is awesome. So now I duplicated the groups, I blew away the controls. I'm doing this so that I can have basically two zero groups above each control. And you can see later on why I'm doing this. This will have or make the fist control that I create later work properly. So it's basically just two groups in the exact same position, and then the control underneath that. So I'm just hitting, or I'm selecting my control, and then hitting up on my keyboard, and then selecting the control up above it, and hitting P to parent. So again, control, up, and then P. When you hit up, it basically moves up and down your selection in the hierarchy. I'm going to do a quick rename of all these controls and the groups above them. I'm just renaming the groups to zero group, and then the group above that, zero group underscore one. And then I believe I'll rename the joints as well with an underscore J&T suffix. Alright, so here I'm going to parent constrain my controls to, or my joints to my controls. I'm just resetting the or the actual parent constraint options, and then you can see as I rotate, everything is working properly. So that's the pointer finger. I'd basically do the same thing for all the other fingers plus the thumb. Set up the hierarchy the same way. But I'm just going to do the pointer finger in this example. Here I'm going to be creating the fist control now. So I'm just going to parent it to the wrist and then place it from there. Unparent it, created a zero group, which I placed just above the actual control. So this guy, I would sort of make it float above the hand normally. You can see I'm just doing a quick position. I'm going to add a couple attributes to it as well. So I'll select it, and then go to Edit, Add Attribute. And I'll first off just add a spacer attribute. This is just for extra controls that I can put underneath. I'll lock selected, and then I'll just create a fist control. I'll keep it at keyable and float, and make the minimum -1, the maximum +1. You can see that it works. So I've got all my controls set up. I'm going to bring up the node editor now. So I connected everything to the proper controls. It should have been the rotate Z. Two of them you can see are the rotate Y, which I'll fix in a second here. So I set my fist to 0. My inputs min and max are at 0 and 1 right now. I'm going to set it to -1 and +1, which is the same as the values of my fist control. And then I'm just checking to see how much I want my fingers to rotate. And I figured about a -60 value and a +60 value work pretty well. So now you can see, because I connected the two bottom joints on the y-axis, that's why it's rotating a little funny. I quickly just delete those connections, and then plug them into the rotate Z just like the top joint, which was working properly. So I grab the fist, and now everything is working the way that I want it to. You can see that I get a nice curl of all my joints. And this is basically the setup that I would run for all the other fingers as well. It'll follow this exact same thing. They will all connect to that same control. They could use the same remap value as well. And I'm just demonstrating that even though I have my fist attribute with a value in it, I can still actually rotate my individual finger controls and put animations on top of those. Having the two node groups above each control lets me do this, so it's a bit of a nice setup. So this is just a quick last shot of the node editor. I've got my fist attribute being plugged into the input value of my remap value. All of the groups that are directly above the controls are being controlled by the out value. That's their rotate Zs. And then my remap value. Right now I have it set to -1 and 1 for the input and output max and min, and then, or sorry, input max min, and then output is -60 and +60. And that's that.